All right, welcome to the program. It is a Friday afternoon. It's gorgeous out there, beautiful sunshiny afternoon, and we're playing Killer Queen in honor of the Queen, who is now marching around with President Trump in England. I'm not exactly sure where they are. I don't think they're in London, right? Because oh, it says right on the screen. Everybody's pointing to the screen. It says Windsor, England, right across the screen. Okay, so I missed that. Sue me. Hi, Mayor. How are you?
I'm well. I'm staring at the screen too. Look at those guys with the big, those soldiers with the big hats on. You know, if it's warm there, those guys must be uncomfortable, I have to say.
Well, the Queen's all dressed up. She's got a long sleeve. She's got a jacket. They've all got sleeves on and jackets. The Queen's got her traditional hat in her purse, and she's clutching that thing. Like I said, my Nana going to bingo. You know, I mean,
she's got a lot of money. I don't know why she needs to be carrying around a big purse like that. It's, you know, she needs to buy, whatever. You know, it's just. You know, she could just nod her head and...
Yeah, absolutely. She must be able to afford to have a flunky stand behind her and hold her.
I think so. Yeah.
Anyway, she's smiling and, everything's happy over there right now. I guess they haven't flown the big giant Trump balloon over there yet. Have you seen the Trump balloon that the protesters are flying?
No.
It's a great big orange thing that with Trump in a diaper.
Oh, no kidding.
They're flying on the streets of London right now. Yeah, so... Anyway,
maybe that'll make its way over the Atlantic, right?
I want some of those guards though outside of City Hall. The guys with the big black hats, and we can have like the changing of the guards.
We'll work that into the budget.
You think we can do that? Can we handle that?
Yeah, that'll bring the tourists in.
Yeah, I think it would. You know, we can do the changing of the guard, right? Just march right up and down William Street, and
yeah, I like the way you think.
Yeah, and you can salute every day when you go in. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Hey, I was thinking it's so nice out there, Barry. You need to find another occasion to do your show off campus.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've been fighting for like one of those little screen tent things that we could put out front, even. You know,
why not?
Table. Why not?
Yeah,
it's gorgeous.
Right in the middle of the parking lot.
Yeah. Well, this is called Killing Time, folks, because there's not a lot of stuff to talk about. It's summertime. We do have some things to talk about.
Well, I guess. No news is good news. Sometimes.
Yeah, unless you're in the news business.
Yeah, unless you're in the news business, right?
Then it's not so good. But
there's a lot to talk about with summer activities.
Yeah,
right?
a lot of
if you
summer
look
activities.
At I saw you out at the parade, of course, and
last Saturday, yeah,
and then back down at Monty's Park afterward.
Yep.
That was really successful. The Cape Verdean Recognition Parade was really well attended. The basketball tournament afterward.
First time I'd been to the basketball tournament. It was great. Had a great time watching.
Yeah, no, they've over the years they've been getting in teams from New York and Boston and other big cities, and the competition's great. It's really good.
Some of these kids have played all over the world. I mean, they were talking about this guy played in Japan and this guy played in Germany. And
oh no, there's some serious players there.
Absolutely. Now, see, I thought you were tall until I saw some of those kids.
Yeah, they're tall. Yeah.
They're very tall. Yeah.
But we had Folk Fest going on at the same time, and so downtown was a real hive of activity. Summer Sound Series is tonight. I keep reminding myself it is Friday.
Yeah.
We've had a few of these Friday episodes now.
Yes.
But yes, today. So we're about to launch that again.
Yep.
Are you going?
No.
No. I thought you were.
I do.
Regular.
I live for it. You know, it's going to be difficult for me, my schedule, to make maybe one of them this year. I'm going to make maybe one.
You taking long weekends off? Is that the?
We'll get a little bit of that going on. Yeah. Next week, of course, is opening night for West Side Story, so I'm going to be over there.
Really? Already?
Yeah, that's next week, the 20th. Yeah. And,
are they doing it early this year?
I don't think so. I think it's about right.
This is New Bedford Festival Theater for those who are listening into our conversation.
Yeah, they're listening. Yeah, just between you and me, right? New Bedford Festival Theater, Armin and George.
Yeah.
Opens
feels like it's
Friday
early
night.
this year, but maybe it isn't. Yeah, already.
Summer goes. I mean, you hit
so that's
4th of
worth
July.
It. That's worth. So everybody who's listening, if you have, I think a lot of the people who are listening are familiar with New Bedford Festival Theater, but if you're not, check it out at the Zeiterion. You get Broadway caliber performances at our own hometown prices.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. They do great. They do great
shows.
Yeah.
And West Side Story is my favorite out of all of them.
I've never seen West Side Story.
Oh, you got to go see it.
Yeah.
You never saw the movie either?
I've seen parts of the movie.
Yeah. The movie won 10 Academy
Rita
Awards.
Moreno, right? She's like the big star.
Yeah. Well, she was one of them. Yeah, she was one. What's her name? The one that was married to Robert Wagner that died.
Natalie Wood.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
She was in it. and Richard Beamer, and a few others. But yeah, you got to see it. Have you got tickets? You're gonna go see it?
I'm sure I'll be. I don't think.
You're usually there on opening night.
I can't remember the last time I didn't go in the summertime.
Yeah.
No, it's worth it. It's I mean, for everybody who's out there again who hasn't been to New Bedford Festival Theater, check it out. You won't regret it.
Well, I'll tell you how old I am. Armin and George, formerly teachers at New Bedford High School.
Yeah.
I actually performed in a production of that show with them.
No kidding.
Back in New Bedford High School in the Little Theater. What used to be the Little Theater. I'm not sure if the Little Theater is still there. Yeah, Jonathan's shaking his head. So it still is inside there. And that goes back to like 1974, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, they are legendary in the area. The thing is, I mean, they're Armin and George are, known for their directorial skill, their producing skill, and they've done, they've won all sorts of awards, and were legendary teachers at the high school. But the other thing that they bring to the table that's not quite as heralded is that, and as much as they tap into a lot of and develop a lot of local talent, they also bring in some really talented folks from other places as well to complement what we have here. So there are a lot of folks in New York who will spend a big chunk of the summer, actors and actresses will come here to New Bedford to be part of their New Bedford Festival Theater productions, because the reputation of New Bedford Festival Theater on Broadway is legit. I mean, Armin and George have a pretty big network in the business, and they're able to attract serious folks, real serious folks from outside.
Yeah. Well, I hope everybody gets to see it, because it is a great show. If you've never seen it before, it is a wonderful thing to see. The only criticism I heard about last weekend was it was tough to park downtown. I get some texts from people saying, "Ask the mayor what he said. How come it was so tough to park downtown?" So,
well, it was tough to park downtown on the street because there were a lot of people there. There were some complaints about the fact that the city was charging in the garage, in the Elm Street garage, and the city didn't decide, well, we're going to charge on that particular day to make some money. The city is now charging on the weekends, at least in the summer, because we've found that there are a number of folks who will go on the ferries to Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket and skip out on the parking lot and the $13 a day fee over on the waterfront, and just park downtown for free over the weekend, which would be fine if it weren't for the fact that other people need those spaces. And so, managing parking in a growth environment like the one we have is tricky, and what we try to do is just to be as upfront with everybody as possible. In the case of the Elm Street Garage this weekend, it had been posted for a long time on the Folk Festival's website that this year, unlike years past, there would be a charge for the Elm Street Garage. So, but look, I mean, we're always up for constructive feedback. We're not in the business of charging for the garage just for the sake of it. I mean, the money that that accrues to that garage is going into the improvements in the garage, which are substantial. We just finished spending $5 million to upgrade that garage, the first time that it's received that level of upgrades in its roughly 40-year existence. So the money's going for good uses, and look, I mean, if we need to make changes, we'll do that. We welcome the feedback, but people just need to know it's done for a reason.
So now the Whaling City Festival is open. That opened last night?
It is, yeah.
And that's going to be going on through the weekend?
Yeah. The crowds, I couldn't tell last night. I drove by down Rockdale Avenue. It looks like there were some crowds. I mean, I suspect they'll be bigger tonight, as they usually are on Friday nights.
Yeah.
And then we have the Polish Festival, of course, at Our Lady of Perpetual Help on North Front Street. That's always a good place to go, especially if you want to stock up on pierogi or guamki for a few months, freeze them, and return to them.
Can you freeze them? Yeah, I guess you can. You can buy them in the
in fact, you can buy them frozen. You can buy them fresh or frozen.
Okay.
Both alike.
Wow. So that's right around the old Polish church there.
Yeah, Our Lady of Perpetual Help. Yeah, right on North Front Street.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's good. So that's just right off of Coggeshall. So if you like good Polish food, check it out. It's going on both days this weekend.
Is that area closed down? The street closed down?
That part of North Front Street will be closed off.
Will be closed down for traffic. Okay. So Whaling City Festival in the past has had its problems with the hours. The hours have been extended again?
Oh, now you're putting me on the spot.
A couple of years back, there was a problem.
So I can't. You know what? It hasn't been an issue. So it's just I can't tell you what the closing. It's either 8 or 9 o'clock.
I think it was moved down to 8 because of a problem.
It was,
right around
and that
sunset.
happened. Yeah, and that was a few years ago. It was actually before my administration, toward the end of the Lang administration, where it was moved back. We kept that in place. I think we made some accommodation. I'm honestly, I wish I could tell you. Well, I mean, if you really want the answer, we'll get you the answer.
We can find the answer online.
But we haven't had too many problems. But I think the biggest change is that the management of the festival's changed. The New Bedford police union took it over 3 years ago or so, and so it hasn't had the problems it had in the past. So there really haven't been any issues. There are certainly a lot of police officers detailed to that event. So it's been a safe event, and if there's a reason to revisit the hours, we'll do that. But for now, it's been okay. There
had been problems with the neighbors complaining about cars parking on the lawn and people throwing trash on the lawn and urinating on their lawns and all that kind of stuff.
And the amusement park vendor, right, the traveling carnival, has to put down a bond with the city, and if the city determines that the park is not as clean as it should be when they leave, then the city will take money out of that bond and pay for a real cleanup or a restoration of whatever needs to be restored. We've had them plant trees before and other things like that. So, we'll be mindful of it. It's a festival that a lot of people look forward to. There are lots of kids in the city that don't have access to, amusement park rides and the like. I mean, the Feast has done that stuff before as well, but it's not like we have like Six Flags around the corner. It's good that kids get an opportunity to do that. But at the same time, if you're going to hold an event in a very, cherished park that is the likes of Buntwood Park, you better take good care of it. So we make sure they do that.
Will the Feast have rides this year with the new school open and everything?
They do. I think they'll have it on the playground. Okay. Remember last year? Was it last year that
it was kind of the old
Ottawell school hadn't been knocked down yet? Right. Now that's been raised, that's an open area, and so my understanding is that the rides will go back there.
Okay. Also, next weekend is the second Truck Fest, Food Truck Fest, or whatever it is down at the Fort. Food Truck Fest. Yeah, that's 3 times fast.
Yeah, did you go last year?
No, I didn't. So I'm looking forward to going this year.
Yeah, check it out.
Actually,
the food is really good.
I'll be around. Yeah, next week.
The food and the beer, all really good.
That's a great venue for concerts and activities. I wish there were more things going on there.
Yeah, we're looking into that. You need. So first of all, on the Food Truck Festival, we had it last year. It was a spectacular success. And in part because what was offered was really good. You had a big variety of food trucks there, and the food was terrific. And you pay I think it's a flat fee, and then there may be some additional tickets. I can't remember exactly what.
Yeah, there are different levels,
but people loved it, right? And there's microbrews and stuff. So, but it's also the setting. So the Great Lawn out on the point is, to my mind, one of the best public spaces anywhere in the Northeast. I mean, you have, these panoramic views of Buzzards Bay.
I can just see a James Taylor concert there, or something like that.
Yeah, you could. So, we've looked at that sort of thing. Remember the Blues Fest? Yeah, had been there for a number of years. I think the trouble they had is when you do those things. This is the challenge. When you do those things, and they do them, for instance, and that is to say, big concerts like at Fort Adams and Newport, in order to pull that off, you need a pretty healthy dose of corporate sponsorship. And so if you go over to I've never been to the concerts in Newport, but what I'm told is that you will see some pretty big banners of big corporations that are sponsoring that. The Blues Fest, as great as that was, wasn't able to secure those kinds of sponsorships with any consistency, and because it's tough, and we don't have major corporate anchors in New Bedford the way we used to. We're certainly building, our businesses are growing here, and we want to reach the point where we can have that again. But the reality is that it's tough.
Well, we certainly keep Dunkin' Donuts in business. There's no question about that, right?
Yeah, we do. But like Dunkin' Donuts, gravitates to the Boston area stuff. That's where they're based, right? So
boy, they dumb. They're missing out on.
They're missing out. But all I'm saying is that you could do some interesting stuff there, and we're looking into it. You just have to make the numbers work. If you pull in a big act like James Taylor, you've got to pay for it and pay for the logistics, right? The parking is limited there, of course, and so you have to have shuttle service and security and all that stuff. Marine security to
same with Fort Adams, though. I can remember walking miles to go to concerts.
Oh, you do, no doubt about it. But you need money to do that.
Yeah.
And so and if you're going to charge a ticket price that people are willing to pay, then you really have to look for other sources.
Absolutely. I heard something this week about the grills being taken out of Fort Tabor and the parks. No more grilling in the parks. Is that?
Yeah. Well, that's been in place for a few years now. I'd say 4 or 5 years ago we stopped doing that because there had been some concerns about fires. There had certainly been some concerns about big messes in the parks and on the beaches, and so there's the rule. I think in recent times had probably not been enforced to the point that people were aware of that, but. You just don't want a situation where you have kids running around, somebody runs into a hibachi and knocks coals all over the place or lighter fluid or whatever, then you can have a real problem. So I think there isn't a new rule. If anything, it may be coming up because it's being enforced
now. Yeah, because I can remember as recently as last year seeing grills and hibachis and all that on particularly at Fort Tabor. A lot of that going on, and it just wasn't being enforced, but it's being enforced now.
Yeah, it. I mean, I think it was loosely enforced now. I think it's being more closely enforced now because I think people found that there was just a lot of that going on, and there is a safety risk.
Were there people getting hurt? I mean, is that why we decided to enforce it with some vigor?
No, no. I mean, I think if I think the feeling has been that if you look around with just sort of the density of people, it was and the density of the number of grills out there, it was just a problem waiting to happen.
So this is true in all of the parks now?
It is, yeah. We don't see a lot of grilling going on in parks outside of the ones in the far south end on the peninsula, outside of Hazelwood and the fort.
Right. That's where most of the activity was that I had experienced was down at the fort.
Right. Yeah. I'm not aware of any grilling going on in other parks.
Yeah, but I mean, were there problems that led to a decision to say we need to enforce this? Because I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't do it, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's just a general feeling that part of it's a safety issue. Part of it is just a cleanliness issue. There's, we've found over the years that there was, when there had been a lot of grilling, a lot of food and a lot of real mess laying around. We had some rats at one point, and so it's you got to keep these places clean. And in a city where we can't afford to provide a maid service for everybody who leaves a mess behind, you have to lay down some rules. What
about picnic baskets and stuff like that? I mean,
you can do that. That hasn't presented the same problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I've got to take a break. So we got 3 breaks we got to get in this hour. So let me do that.
Sounds good.
We'll get into some business stuff. We got the Magnuson-Stevens Act has been reauthorized. I remember when that was first put into place, and that was like big
1976.
News then, so. So that was the year I graduated from high school,
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So
when you were performing for Armin and George.
Yeah, exactly. In West Side Story. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. 508-996-0500. The mayor's with us until 1 o'clock. After that, we're pretty much open from 1 to 3, and we'll chat about whatever's on your mind. So stay with us right here on 1420 WBSM. And welcome back. It's Midweek with the Mayor, kind of like at the end of the week, it's Friday with the Mayor. How about that? Lunch with the Mayor. We should just call it Lunch with the Mayor. That way it works on any day, right?
It works,
doesn't matter what day it's on. But Mayor Mitchell is with us until 1 o'clock. So we've covered just about every event that's happening in the city of New Bedford this summer, particularly over the next couple of weeks. But we haven't talked yet about the one that's...
Not quite, right? There's still more.
Well, we'll get to that. Yeah. We've got more summer to go, man. We haven't talked about the one thing that's not going to happen, and that's 50's night next week. And so there's been a decision by the organizer, Joe Jesus, not to go forward with it this year. And what do you know about that? What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, look, first of all, I think the world of Joe Jesus. I mean, every community needs people like Joe Jesus who are all about bringing people together and are big cheerleaders, big, civic patriots, and that's what he's been doing that for a long time. So I mean, Joe deserves tremendous credit. It's been great working with him on this and other things over the years. We've road work going on, obviously, all over the city for good reason, because the roads need to be upgraded. And in this particular case, on Union Street, there's still work being done. We did think that there could be an arrangement whereby the construction could stop, and in fact it was paused for a while to allow for 50's night to go forward. And look, we're going to try to work with Joe to see if if there's another time in the summer where it could be reestablished, so that this isn't a total cancellation but a postponement. We'll see if we can pull that off, because it's an event that we all like. It's also, it's a big undertaking for him every year. I mean, he's got a group of people he works with, but he's been spearheading it over the years, and it is a big chore. But I look forward to continue working with him on that, so we can pull it off. But in general, look, I mean, there's as we've had, the city's taken pains to move road projects along, and Union Street is just one of them. The city needs to have its roads rebuilt, and we need to move forward that expeditiously. So we're trying to juggle all of these necessities. We want to work with groups to put on great events like 50's night, but we also need to make sure that we're making progress on the reconstruction of our roadways. So we'll continue to work through it, and hopefully we can get that event reestablished.
Was there any discussion about shifting it further north downtown or something away from that?
Yeah, there were discussions about that, about pushing it toward the waterfront, pushing it over toward William Street.
Yeah.
I mean, it ran the gamut. And I think Joe felt pretty strongly that it should go right on Union Street. So, and again, I think, that project is at a point now where, I think it could be stopped and accommodate the vehicles, but I guess he said that the dust is something that folks with classic cars worry about, and I'm not someone who I don't own a classic car, so I can't say either way. But that's look, we'll continue to work with him to try to figure out an alternative.
Have you had him into your office? I mean, you guys spoken about this directly?
So I haven't spoken to Joe personally. My staff has. Christina Connolly and Dagny Ashley are marketing and tourism director, as well as folks at DPI have been talking to him pretty constantly over the last couple of weeks to try to find a way to make it happen. And but look, we'll continue to try and do what we can to try to deconflict these two these two happenings, the road construction and 50's night.
Have they indicated whether or not he's been at least receptive to the idea of maybe another weekend during the year, or a week?
Yeah, I think so. So we're talking to him about that. Hopefully that we can do that later in the summer if possible. So it's going to be a function of when the people who own the classic cars can make them available. They do these shows in other places. They'll all drive to a particular place and set up. But I'd like to see it, because that's one of my favorite events during the year.
This brings in thousands of people to the downtown area. I mean, this is a big
it's a big event.
It's a big loss in terms of revenue for the businesses, I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a lot. It certainly is a fun night in the downtown, and there certainly are a lot of folks there. But look, I mean, you can't you can't let when a road needs to be reconstructed needs to be reconstructed, and the people who are working on that project are working very hard to get a lot of things back up and running. You know, we've got this hotel that's opening up at the corner of Pleasant and Union. You know, there's been a ton of work just to try to make sure that goes according to plan, and as well as to get the shops back up and running. You know, their businesses have been disrupted, so you know they are working away. And but you know, for this particular event, it's just, you know, there are a lot of needs being juggled right now, and sometimes, you know, you just need, you know, you need people to accommodate, to be at least receptive to changing the way that they ordinarily do business. You know, like I said, I can't speak specifically to the needs of classic car owners and whether they had to be right on Union Street, but if Joe says so, then, and you know, I think we did the best we could do.
Are you concerned that it might be done for good, or do you think?
Well, I hope not. We want to keep it going. It's got a lot of momentum. It's been a regular thing, and so we'll do what we can to, as we do with every event, whether it's the feast, the Cape Verdean Recognition Parade, the Folk Fest, you name it. We try to keep these things going.
Well, you know, speaking about working hard, so the legislature goes to work for 3 days this week. Worked so hard they had to take the weekend off, and we still don't have a budget. 13 days into the new fiscal year, no budget. Yeah. Legislature works 3 days, and then now they're gone to the beach for the weekend.
I think it's the only legislature now in the country that hasn't passed a budget.
The
right?
only one. Yeah. So the earliest we can get a budget in place is Tuesday, unless they went back this weekend, which is highly unlikely to happen. So how anxious does this make officials in municipalities from Boston to Pittsfield as they're waiting to find out about hard numbers in that?
Well, this year, probably not too antsy, because a lot of municipalities, including New Bedford, budget off of the House budget. In other words, we try to figure out in our own budget how much state aid we're going to get. We usually start either with the governor's budget or the House budget, right? The governor submits a budget, the House passes a budget. Those budgets tend to be, at least in recent years, more conservative fiscally than the Senate budget. So right now there is the House has its budget, the Senate has its budget. The Senate's budget is larger, but we're not anticipating getting the amount reflected in the Senate budget. So if we get more than, in other words, we've based our municipal budget off of the House's proposal. So if we get more than that, great. We'll find really good uses for that money. If we don't, then, you know, it won't disrupt matters. We've already accounted for it.
How deep into the fiscal year can we get without, you know, starting to sweat checks coming from the state?
Yeah, I'm not that far, right? So, you know,
2 weeks now. Yeah,
it's been a couple of weeks now, and once you start getting into August, then you start to wonder, well, okay, now we've got to start to pay our bills, and we start to worry about what we'll have available going forward. So I hope they pass it soon. They are, as it turns out, the legislature is starting to deleverage itself as it relates to gubernatorial line item veto. So the governor will have an opportunity to line item veto out items, and the legislature will have a chance to, ordinarily would have a chance to override those vetoes. But as I understand it, by statute, that has to happen by, I think it's like July 17th or at some point in July. And so the clock is ticking. So if they pass a budget, the governor has 10 days, and then 10 days to issue vetoes and send it back. And then there's some now ever tightening window left after that for override. So, you know, they might not get a bite at the apple.
Gee.
Well, what can I say?
Yeah.
I mean, but, you know.
Well, I mean, this is what they do. This is what we hire them to do, right? Your primary function is get a damn budget in place. That's it.
Yeah, no, it is frustrating. They're dealing with a lot of other bills, and I'm not here to apologize for them.
Yeah.
The reality is that, you know, the state legislature crams in all of its work in the last, you know, 6 weeks roughly.
And then they go to the
fiscal
beach.
Year. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's nominally a part-time legislature, even though they get paid like a full-time legislature. So,
yeah.
You know, in other states, you know, they get everything. There are some states including Rhode Island.
Every other state got it done.
Well, they get it done, but I mean, in many states, the legislature isn't paid.
Right.
Rhode Island's an example of that, right? So, they tend to, in those states, they tend to move much more efficiently.
Absolutely. All right. Magnuson-Stevens Act. It's been around for 42 years.
42 years, yes.
This was big. Gary Studs was monumental in moving this thing to help our industry, and so the Congress has reauthorized it. What does that mean?
Yeah, so people will remember, lots of people who've been following fishing for a long time will remember the original Magnuson-Stevens Act that was passed in 1976. At the time, Gary Studs was New Bedford's congressman, and it established the whole regulatory framework for commercial fishing in the United States that has endured over the decades. It established, among other things, the so-called 200-mile limit. People will remember the Russian factory ships that used to get pretty close to our shores fishing, and we, in that act, it established this boundary, right? Yeah, it was collusion with the Russians. Yeah, this was before the Russians were into Facebook, right?
It was codlusion.
Codlusion. So that's all. So every 10 years, Magnuson-Stevens is reauthorized, right? It's updated, and so this is the latest update. It was passed in the House. And it hasn't been passed in the Senate yet. I testified on behalf of the version of the bill that did pass, which was largely supported almost entirely by Republicans and a handful of Democrats. Bill Keating, our congressman, has been supportive of it, which is good. And we appreciate his support on it. But among other things, it doesn't change the act fundamentally. What the reauthorization does most significantly, and I testified before Congress about this, was that it needed to become a little more flexible, especially on the topic of rebuilding periods. As it stands right now, there is something called the 10-year rebuilding period in place, which means in effect that once a stock of fish, a particular stock is determined to have been overfished, it is required to be rebuilt, and a 10-year period is put in place. Now, if that stock rebounds really quickly and it's back up to normal in 3 years, the 10-year rebuilding period still remains in place, and so that means that there will be restrictions on fishing will remain in place throughout the entire period, even though the stock has come back. What the new version of the bill does is it leaves to the regional fisheries management councils here, the New England Fisheries Management Council, to determine how long that rebuilding period should be. So it could be less than 10 years, it could be more than 10 years, but depending on the stock assessments. So that's, I think it's good. I mean, it's opposed by a lot of environmental groups, but it just seems to me it's a commonsensical change to the law that will, I think, help fishermen without depleting the fish.
So the Republicans supported this, and not so much the Democrats, huh?
Yeah, and that's they voted it out 2 years ago at the end of the Obama administration as well, and it didn't go anywhere in the Senate, and which was unfortunate. So, the environmental groups push back on any of these changes, and a lot of the Democratic reps do rely on those groups for campaign contributions and other support. So in any event, it's concerning to me that it's that divided, it's that partisan, because I think that look, I'm a Democrat, as you know. I mean, and I'm supporting this Republican version of the bill because it just seems to me to be commonsensical, and certainly is beneficial to our primary industry here in New Bedford, which is commercial fishing. And but it's not. It just seems to me that the positions of a lot of these environmental groups are just
extreme.
It's not even so much extreme. They're just a little too narrow, it seems to me.
All right, let me take the break. 508-996-0500. We'll take some calls right after the break on 1420 WBSM. Stay with us. All right, 508-996-0500, 10 minutes before the hour of 1 o'clock. The mayor is with us until 1 o'clock. So the schools are all closed up tight. Summer school, I guess, is going on, right? And we have some of the summer camps, but everybody's out of school now officially. So this is the time of year where the summer custodians, we still have summer custodians. I was one of those, back in my first year out of high school.
Yeah, there isn't a big summer custodian program as there used to be, but the custodians do work in the summertime.
Yeah, I was
the school custodians too, yeah.
Like a 17-year-old summer school custodian out at Pulaski for a year. Gary Golis and myself, we worked out at Pulaski. Yeah, and so we made sure the boards were all clean and the floors were waxed and the boilers all cleaned out and all that kind of stuff. So we're getting the schools all prettied up. Any big changes in the fall coming up? Any
Well, we have a new superintendent for starters,
but
right?
I mean with the physical plants. Anything?
Yeah, I mean I think so. We have. I think you will see some number of improvements. You will see. The maintaining and the reconstruction of certain things at schools that are long overdue. By that I mean, we have put more money into facilities maintenance in the last couple of years. The school committee has, and we have money from the state that was meant to offset the costs associated with all the Puerto Rican kids who came into the school district after Hurricane Maria. And so I think we're going to end up using a lot of that money just to fix a lot of things, whether it's parking lots or school fences or buying redoing doors or windows. I mean it runs the gamut, but there's a long punch list of items that need to be dealt with, and so so parents will see those improvements as over the course of the year. So we've got. It's going to work out to be like $1.5 million, maybe a little bit more, that we're just going to use just to pay for stuff that we haven't been able to get to because of constrained finances.
Any word on what's going to happen down at oh gosh, my mind just went totally. I know what I'm thinking. Me and Ed's. Any word on Me and Ed's? What's going on with that?
I think the Pimentel family is looking to sell it, but I don't.
That and the ice cream place on the corner.
Yeah, I think they own that property. I think they own. The parking lot across the street.
Those three parcels are up. Yeah.
Yeah. So nothing yet. I think it's a really good opportunity, right? Because you have an established restaurant there.
Yeah.
You've got all that ice cream stand that has.
We lived at that place.
Oh yeah, it's a really good spot.
Yeah.
And look, with the new SMAS facility right across the street, I mean, there's an opportunity there, business opportunity there for them. But that's such a great area, and so I think that whoever buys that's going to have a nice opportunity to grow something there.
Now, was that zone? That's obviously zone business, right?
I think it's zone mixed-use business in that area.
Could UMass, by any chance, move into that property? Is that something that they could do if they were interested?
They could. I don't think they have the money to do it, but but we certainly welcome that. But they've got a great deal of maintenance on the main campus that they're dealing with right now.
Would it be your druthers to see that stay a restaurant?
I'd like to see a restaurant there. I mean, it's really two restaurants, right? It's Midheads and Clark's Point Ice Cream. I'd certainly like to see that. I think it certainly adds to the neighborhood. I wouldn't mind seeing other sandwich shops and other coffee shops there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there really is no place on the neck now.
And look, we see the large crowds at the beaches, and of course a lot of people just like going down there during the summertime. A lot of people will drive down there. A lot of people. There's a lot more biking going on down there as well. So it's a good spot to stop.
All right, let me take the last break. We'll come right back. Stay with us. 508-996-0500. All right, we unfortunately have about 40 seconds left to go. We've had one person hanging on the line right there, and we just don't have time to take that person. Now, I'm going to get hell for that. I'm going to say, you say we can call in and talk to the mayor, and you didn't let me talk to the mayor. So I just beg your forgiveness, caller.
I just let everybody out there know that I have no control over the buttons in this.
It's all his fault. Yeah. He doesn't want to answer calls. I
can't reach them.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. The weather's supposed to be good. We'll see you out there somewhere, Polish Fest or Whaling City, one of those events, and
go get a pierogi, right? Is that
pierogi?
Pierogi, yeah.
Pierogi.
Thanks, man. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Aren't you a little Polish?
A little bit, yeah, about this much.
All right, that much.
News is next. We're back on the other side. Stay with us on WBSM.
All right.